Facebook, when's it going public and what does it mean for startups?
Soon. Mark's in China and Japan doing the IPO book.
So what do you guess on the timeline?
I think, well, I don't think he's in Shanghai visiting with his girlfriend's family about 2 weeks before they're going to go IPO. So that's probably not why he's in China.
Do you think it's just a few weeks away?
I'm guessing weeks to single months.
Yeah, I think it's late April or May. And when we were doing the millennial IPO, the bankers are the same as Facebook. And they said, we got to get this done by the end of March. And I said, why the end of March? And they said, we got a lot of other stuff we got to take care of. And I was like, I wonder what they were talking about. But now I figured it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the rest of the
No, but seriously, what does it do for everyone else? Does it increase the mania? Does it increase the panic of the emails?
Increases valuation, probably across the board.
Oh my God, how
so that sucks for you
go any
guys.
higher?
Well, I just meant for other companies.
Oh,
I'm saying.
okay.
The rest of the market feels like, oh, everything's good.
But does it
Facebook.
increase valuation for companies that you'd invest in?
No. Well, probably helps us with our companies getting valuation. Probably hurts us in terms of valuation for new investments that we're doing. It's probably good for entrepreneurs. I don't know. I mean,
They're going to have a huge currency to buy things with, which is going to motivate other buyers.
But they're not regular buyers.
No.
They're
they're
very anti-acquisition, and when they
Really?
do acquisitions, they're small acquisitions, and they tend to screw the investors in the acquisitions, right? They will move most of the.
What do you mean, Naval?
Well, they'll move most. The smart acquirers all do this now. For the acquihires, where you basically buy.
I don't think that smart acquirers screwing investors is actually smart. I think like
the clever, right? The clever acquirers are moving most of the acquisition price into the package for the team. And the investors get their money back, maybe with interest if they're lucky.
Yeah, so
I've seen a lot of investors
Facebook
now
and Google and other folks are watching. That might work for individual angel investors. For those of us who are basically producing hundreds of companies on an annual basis, note for the record, that will not work. Thank you.
I'm wondering if you guys have some perspective on the upcoming Facebook IPO and on the
Facebook's going to go public. They're going to make a load of money. We all use it. Like, that's it. We don't need to like talk multiple times about it.
I'm asking, hear me out. My question is if the pricing and aftermarket performance of the Facebook IPO might set the tone for future funding valuations for companies down the road.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a factor.
Next.
Facebook's a big-ass company. They're doing really well. They're going to make a lot of money.
I think Dave should have invested, but didn't. Go.
Okay.
I used to work for one of the guys who was one of the biggest investors in Facebook.
But what's hilarious is over a long timeline, the venture business, on average, barely makes money or loses money, depending on whose stats you listen to.
But
so
Facebook
that means for every 10 or 20 or 30 billion made in a Facebook IPO, it gets reinvested in a frenzy into startups and gets lost over time. So just keep that in mind, right? So yeah, that's the effect.
Right? I think Facebook is distorting what's going on. Like, Facebook is this once-in-a-decade really big business that makes a small number of people a large amount of money. And the actual trend is venture is getting a little bit more scientific. We're getting smarter about this business, and it's easier to create $25 to $50 million businesses with regularity. Like, that's what's really interesting and what's going on and why it's changing the dynamics, because it's actually harder for large funds to make money now because it's easier for entrepreneurs to exit early. They own more of their companies. They're more efficient about it. Like, that's what's cool. And like, crowdfunding is challenging seed investors are challenging A-round investors are challenging B-round investors. Like, there's efficiency throughout the whole system that's going on. Facebook's this big anomaly that is more the old world, not the new world.
Yeah, so that's the most interesting thing. Yeah, people keep talking about the Facebook, but like, okay, how many people here are really still obsessive users of Facebook or have moved on to something else? See, yeah, for me,
it's over. Facebook, you heard it here first.
No, I mean, it's not over, but it's gone so mainstream.
Shorting Facebook.
No, it's gone. Facebook has gone so mainstream that I think most people here have moved on to a Twitter or a Pinterest or whatever.
But we're the edge.
Yeah, I get it, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think Facebook is that interesting to talk about here.
No, agreed.
Like, it's not on the edge anymore.